Ladies and gentlemen, the tower is cleared as for takeoff. Flight attendants, please take your seats.
There's a man on the wing of this plane!
This is your captain speaking. It appears we have a minor issue with the left aileron, and we're going to have to circle back to the airport. We apologize for the inconvenience, but on the plus side, this is movie night. Welcome to the show. I'm Jonathan Paula. Action Movie Month continues tonight as we take a look at the first 5 Mission Impossible movies, and we'll begin with the original. Based on the long-running TV series from the 1960s of the same name, this action spy film was a smash hit. Its $457 million gross was the third highest of 1996. Tom Cruise stars as a covert operative who must restore his credibility and expose a traitor after he's framed for his team's murders. Cruise has had a fantastic, decades-long career, but his portrayal of top-secret agent Ethan Hunt might be where he excels the best. Exuding charisma and determination, he also handles the physical stunt work without even breaking a sweat. Well, except for one. The supporting cast includes memorable turns from Jon Voight, Emmanuel Béart, Jean Reno, Ving Rhames, Vanessa Redgrave, and Emilio Estevez. Remarking on aliases and codenames, Redgrave shares to Cruise during an intimate conversation, "What comfort anonymity can be in my profession. It's like a warm blanket." These are highly skilled and intelligent agents, several with ulterior motives and secret agendas, which is why some of their more curious decisions are all the more frustrating. Overly complicated escapes and lack of basic situational awareness makes them look clueless whenever the script calls for more interesting action. Hell, Cruise is supposed to be this crackshot hero, but he can't even toss garbage to a trash can from 4 feet away. Another noticeable quirk in the PG-13 rated script is when the true identity of a character is dramatically revealed, only to be revealed all over again in the next scene, as if we'd forgotten. While we're on the subject, I might as well pile on. The exposition delivery, particularly in an early mission briefing scene, is very clumsy. Voight might as well turn to the camera, wink, and let everyone know this information is setting up the third act. These issues aside, when the 110-minute adventure hits its stride, it really gets going. The story's centerpiece heist of data from CIA headquarters is an obvious highlight, which sees Cruise suspended from the ceiling in a pressure, temperature, and noise-monitored facility. Danny Elfman's score lends great atmosphere to the rest of the picture, but this iconic scene plays out in complete silence, a decision that really amplifies the tension. Unfortunately, the best laid plans of Mice and Men are almost ruined by an actual mouse, leading to even more drama and suspense. The only real bit of true action doesn't arrive until the speeding climax, but boy is it a doozy, and well worth the wait. The $80 million production is helmed by the inconsistent Brian De Palma. Sometimes he wows with impossibly long tracking shots, but other times his overbearing style gets in the way of the plot. And while MI1 is gorgeously shot and makes great use of its locations, especially Prague, De Palma definitely goes overboard with the Dutch angles. I first saw this film only months after visiting the Czech Republic, so getting to see famous landmarks I had just visited featured so prominently into the opening film was a real treat for me. Cinematographer Stephen H. Burham's use of lighting and shadows is also excellent, giving much of the nighttime sequences on the cobblestone streets of the Old Town District a very film noir look to them. Updating the classic franchise for a new generation, there's plenty of high-tech and advanced gadgetry on display. But Mission Impossible also exists in that amusing intersection where floppy disk and Usenet groups coexisted.
My team is dead! Jesus. Galitzin's gone. They knew we were coming, man. They knew we were coming, and the disc is gone.
Are you intact?
The disc is gone. Do you read me? The list is in the open!
Listen, I read you. Let's just bring you in safely, then we'll worry about that, okay? Were you followed?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Be sure. Are you clean? Okay, location green, 1 hour. I'll be there myself.
U2 band members Larry Mullen Jr. and Adam Clayton produced a great electronic dance version of Lalo Schifrin's iconic title theme, which I have fond memories listening to on Radio Disney back when I was a preteen. The first picture in which Cruise has a producer credit was also the first movie to open in over 3,000 theaters, and it kicked off a franchise that now stands at 5 entries and counting. Speaking of its successors, this inaugural installment is honestly rather tame in comparison, but fans of a quiet, twisty thriller will feel right at home on multiple viewings. Mission Impossible impresses with its set pieces, but falters with the details. Here's some of your thoughts. We both agreed this movie was a bit too confusing for its own good, but you still scored it an 8. I thought it was a cool movie, myself. Now let's talk about Mission Impossible 2. Released on Memorial Day weekend in 2000, this John Woo action spy thriller earned over $420 million in profit against its $125 million budget. The PG-13 rated script follows a secret agent who tracks down a rogue operative to find and destroy a genetically modified disease. Returning to the lead role, Tom Cruise is once again excellent as a top-secret agent ass-kicker, globe-trotting around the world to stop danger and using every skill at his disposal to get it done. Dougray Scott nails the cocky behavior of the smug antagonist, but even with his Scottish accent, he's just too generic and forgettable to be an effective villain. Which is too bad really, as he was forced to forfeit the Wolverine role to Hugh Jackman in the X-Men series after this picture went over schedule. Meanwhile, the beautiful Thandie Newton is featured as the damsel in distress, needing to be rescued by big strong men in every other scene. She handles the cliché material as well as can be expected, but her forced romance with Cruise just falls flat, and all the Spanish guitar music in the world isn't going to change that. Ving Rhames returns in a smaller, more expositional role, while Brendan Gleeson does great work as a biotech CEO. Uncredited for his single scene appearance, Anthony Hopkins contributes some credibility and authority to the picture when he reminds the protagonist, "Well, this is not mission difficult, Mr. Hunt, it's mission impossible." In an effort to combat the somewhat simplistic and predictable plot, the mask-wearing twist, common in this series, is used and reused so much it loses its effectiveness. Unlike its predecessor, which made great use of its exotic European locations, MI2 apparently takes place in Sydney, Australia, but with how little the area is featured, you wouldn't even know it. Director Woo's penchant for slow motion is so overused, several moments in this picture literally feature an instant replay. The 123-minute movie is all flash and little substance, with more snap zooms and flying doves than actual dramatic beats. When Scott reaches for a scarf midair, the moment is played up like this big, intense moment. Instead, it just feels silly. After dicking around with their motorcycles and driving in circles in the sand, Scott and Cruise collide mid-air in one of the movie's more memorable stunts. It's undeniably awesome, but so completely unrealistic it approaches almost parody levels of entertainment. And virtually everything in this movie explodes. Sure, it only takes 3 shots to blow up a car, but a bike's tiny metal frame is apparently sufficient armor against the incoming hail of bullets. Composer Hans Zimmer's use of melodramatic choir doesn't fit the absurd action spectacle any more than Cruise's boy band haircut fits his persona. Speaking of music, Limp Bizkit's rendition of the classic Mission Impossible theme might have been super dope back in the early 2000s, but now it just feels horribly out of place. I feel like I've only been bashing on this picture, but honestly it still delivers a lot of fun moments, great stunts, and cool action. A victim of its time more than anything, and its director's showy trademarks, this might be the weakest entry in the series, but it's still rather enjoyable. Mission Impossible 2 is a disposable and detached adventure with explosive fluff. Here's what you had to say about it. Unanimously considered the worst entry in the franchise, you thought MI2 was meh. As shallow as it is, I'll score it a 5 out of 10 myself. Now for my review of Mission Impossible 3. Now this is more like it. After a slower start and a disappointing follow-up, it's this third installment that really brought the MI series to new heights. The $150 million action spy film made almost $400 million worldwide after its May 5th release in 2006. When the life of his fiancée is threatened, Tom Cruise must steal a dangerous device for a sadistic arms dealer as ransom. But true to the MacGuffin fashion, we never learn what this device is or what it does. Cruise is great doing what he does best, killing bad guys, flashing that winning smile, and running really fast. Opposite him in the PG-13 rated story is the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, who does tremendous work as the chief antagonist. While he may not be very physically threatening, it's his dispassionate demeanor, especially in a tense interrogation during a flash-forward cold open, that makes him positively frightening.
We've put an explosive charge in your head. Does that sound familiar? The rabbit's foot, where is it?
I gave it to you.
Ethan. Where's the rabbit's foot?
Wait, what are you saying? That wasn't it? What I gave you?
I'm gonna count to 10. You're gonna tell me where the rabbit's foot is, or she dies.
Hoffman's fantastic, uncompromising portrayal easily makes him the best baddie in the franchise. Michelle Monaghan is used effectively as the love interest and is really able to hold her own when the situation finally calls for it. Kerry Russell and Lawrence Fishburne are strong and decisive in their smaller parts, but I really wanted to see more of them. With the audience unsure of where his allegiances lie, Fishburne shuts down a subordinate during a meeting by barking, "Don't interrupt me when I'm asking rhetorical questions." Rounding out the IMF team is returning player Ving Rhames alongside Jonathan Rhys Meyers and Maggie Q, who although capable and interesting are generally interchangeable. Simon Pegg meanwhile makes brief appearances as a quirky technician and provides for some great comic relief, and a role that was thankfully heavily expanded in the sequels. Making his feature directorial debut with MI3, J.J. Abrams proves why he's one of the most sought-after directors in Hollywood, taking command of the screen with precise editing, focused close-ups, and great wide shots to establish the action. The climax of the first act, a harrowing helicopter chase through a wind farm, balances parallel threats both inside and out of the aircraft wonderfully. JJ's hurried, on-the-go style is a perfect fit for the kinetic developments on screen, like Cruise's 25-mile-an-hour super sprint along a Shanghai waterway, captured by a spider cam following along on a cable. The relentless pace of the 125-minute feature doesn't offer much breathing room though, it's just one intense sequence after another. But one of the few scenes that is quieter is no less suspenseful, when Cruise's team pulls off a daring kidnap switch of Hoffman during a high-profile event right under the nose of his bodyguards. Computer imagery is used sparingly and combined with practical effects and real stunts from Cruise himself for believable results. Although the story has our hero scaling skyscrapers in China and sneaking around the Vatican, the overall stakes feel very personal, and the movie is better for it. A real turning point for the franchise and arguably the best installment so far, Mission Impossible 3 has high-octane thrills with excellent heroes and enemies. Now let's go to the YouTube comments. Performances were praised, but you scored this one rung lower than my awesome grade. Now, my updated thoughts on a film I first reviewed back when it was released, Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. The third sequel to the feature film adaptation of CBS's TV series became Tom Cruise's highest grossing, with an almost $700 million worldwide cume. Released in December of 2011, the $145 million adventure is helmed by Brad Bird, directing his first live-action feature. Cruise returns as the IMF super spy who, surprise, has once again been disavowed by the American government that employs him. Staying off-grid, he pools what little talent and resources available to hunt down a Russian terrorist with stolen launch codes. Joining him on his globe-trotting adventure is Jeremy Renner, Paula Patton, and Simon Pegg reprising his tech nerd role from the previous film. Promoting Pegg to a much larger capacity was the best decision of the franchise, and the 133-minute film has a much lighter and enjoyable tone because of it. The stakes have never been higher, but gone are the intimate threats and personal connections to the consequences. This is perhaps the film's biggest misstep. Removed from the context of the earlier movies, Cruise's character receives little backstory here. The PG-13 rated film opens with Tom fighting his way out of a Russian gulag, which is capped off by an explosive escape on his command, Light the Fuse, which seamlessly blends into the iconic theme song. From there, Bird doesn't let off the throttle, as the pacing and tension remains taut throughout. Ghost Protocol's centerpiece sequence is an exterior Spider-Man-esque climb up the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa. With the aid of some digitally removed harnesses, Cruise forgoes the use of a body double and admirably performs this harrowing stunt himself, suspended over 1,700 feet above the desert. Those weary of heights should be cautioned though, as the wide, sharply focused frame generates a very real sense of vertigo. Immensely fun and quite impressive, this scene is honestly worth the price of admission alone.
Your line's not long enough!
The Impossible Mission Force utilizes some uber cool tech during their travels, like a magnet suit that allows quasi-flight, or an eyeball tracking projection screen that makes a Kremlin guard see a Wile E. Coyote type hallway of fake perspective. While the plot gets particularly convoluted, the entire middle act ends up being redundant, there's some great writing and interplay between the talented cast. Meanwhile, the action and chase sequences are absolutely pulse-pounding, brought to life by an intense soundtrack from producer J.J. Abrams' longtime collaborator Michael Giacchino. The stunts, although ridiculous, are refreshingly routed in a world of realism, unlike the previous installments where flying a helicopter through the channel was commonplace. Maximizing all of the impressive advantages of the giant IMAX frame, Bird does a fantastic job of filling each and every one of them with exquisite detail. Rarely does the viewer lose sight of the movement or players on screen. I'm a sucker for well-paced, fun action movies, and this film delivers on repeated viewings. Ghost Protocol is a thrilling and adventurous showstopper. That was my review, now let's read some of yours. You praised the high-wire stunts and intense action scenes, scoring this a 9 out of 10. And I totally agree, this is an awesome movie. Finally, my review for Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. In a word, this action spy film was more of the same, but with the last two installments being such strong entries, that's actually a good thing. Oscar-winning writer turned director Christopher McQuarrie takes charge of the $150 million production, which soared to a profit of over $500 million after its July 31, 2015 release. When an equally skilled rogue organization vows to destroy the IMF, they're on their own to stop them. Finally maintaining a bit of continuity between installments, 4 major characters return for this 5th installment: Tom Cruise, Jeremy Renner, Simon Pegg, and Ving Rhames, all of whom slip back into their roles with ease. Rebecca Ferguson rounds out the quintet as the requisite female, but she's much stronger and more self-reliant than previous characters in that position. Her take-no-prisoners approach makes her a formidable accomplice, one who's quick to remove her heels in the middle of a fight. Still new to the complicated world of espionage, she's reminded by a suspicious contact. There are no allies in statecraft, only common interests. Alec Baldwin does convincing work as the director of the CIA, while Sean Harris is smug and frightening as the primary antagonist. I've said it before, but Cruise really deserves the lion's share of the praise. His willingness to go above and beyond makes him such a joy to watch. He brings real optimism and dedication to the lead role, and everyone else just falls into place as a result. Like its predecessors, the 131-minute movie has more fistfights, car chases, sneaking into high-profile events, and of course a couple insanely brave stunts, once again performed by Cruise himself. Heavily promoted in the film's marketing, and on the poster, is an awesome cold open scene that sees the A-list actor actually hanging onto the side of an Airbus A400M cargo plane as it speeds down the runway and then takes off. Although this high-flying stunt resulted in one of Tom's 6 injuries during production, his endless commitment to the craft is nothing short of remarkable. Later, low-angle cameras give an intense sense of speed and danger during a thrilling motorcycle chase along the Moroccan mountains. Rogue Nation moves between these frenzied action sequences and slower dramatic moments with comfortable pacing, while Joe Kramer's deep and brooding score is an excellent fit for the moral ambiguity of the PG-13 rated plot.
We good?
Things got a little out of hand.
Look out!
If you've seen and enjoyed any of the previous Mission Impossible pictures, this one is sure to delight. There's plenty of neat gadgets, plot twists, and insane set pieces. Although it's missing a strong emotional thread to really match the dramatic impact of the 3rd installment, this is definitely the franchise's 2nd best entry. Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation is over-the-top fun with groundbreaking action spectacle. Here now are some of your thoughts. You considered this a step down from the 4th picture, but still scored it an 8. I, meanwhile, thought it was awesome. Using a different director for every installment, the Mission Impossible series has constantly reinvented itself, but it's also remained remarkably consistent. After 5 pictures in 20 years, there's still no clear frontrunner for the picture's best effort. And with Cruise and company already signed on for Part 6, I can't wait to see what they do next. Unfortunately, that does it for tonight's episode, but here's what we'll be discussing next time if you'd like to leave a comment review. And if you click on this information icon, some related videos will slide out for you to watch. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thanks for watching, and have a good movie night.